Growing up in a multicultural family, I always kind of dealt with these feelings of not being in control. And so I always was okay with not really being too in control. And I continued that sort of pattern when I moved to Japan. So Japan is a very different culture than Western cultures, and sometimes what I thought would have been a normal reaction was not a normal reaction, and things that I thought were not normal were very normal. And so I've always had this feeling in my life, not being in control, sometimes being lonely, and just trying to deal with hard times. More recently, my wife actually went back to her hometown, which is about a 12-hour drive from Tokyo, for the birth of our son. It's tradition in Japan, actually, for mothers-to-be to go back to their hometown. Of course, I wanted to be there. I wanted her to be here. But I realized, okay, this is a different culture. This is something that I will have to understand. And so she went back to her hometown last November or early December. And I went to see her and her family a couple of times, and then I went back for the birth in February. And so I was expecting her and our boy to come back in March. Unfortunately, it was March of 2020 when coronavirus really hit, and this changed everything. So you see, we had to cancel our plans, and now it's May and they're still not home. So I've had to deal with this really hard to understand situation. And the most natural reaction is to ask her, when is she coming home? When are you coming home? When are you coming home? And it's so hard on her, I can tell, that to constantly be asked that question, that I had to stop and resist and refrain from asking her that question, because as a father, that really was the only thing that I realized that I could do. In order for her to feel comfortable and for the stress to not be brought upon our baby, I realized that was something that I just needed to bite my tongue and hold in. And after a couple of weeks of not bringing it up, she actually wrote to me. She said, "Yoku gaman shiteru. Yoku gaman shiteru." And I thought, that's it. That's the word. Gaman. Like, that is what I am doing. That is what we are all trying to do. And so what I want to introduce to you today is that word, gaman, and how I think it really can help, and I think it'll help you get through this time of loneliness and uncertainty. I looked to see if there's anything in the English-speaking world about the word gaman, and actually there was this interview done in 2011 after the tragic earthquake in northern Japan, and it was an interview of George Takei, and he's actually explaining this very word, and he nails it. So I just want to turn over the floor to George and watch this video with you.
It means to endure with fortitude and dignity, self-restraint, control. And, because Japan is a very densely populated country, you have to be respectful of others and exercise self-restraint. And it's really moving and powerful to see people who I'm sure are experiencing great anguish, having lost family and loved ones, to be so orderly and dignified.
We have found people going back into those nuclear plants to try and deal with the situation. So this gaman doesn't stop you. Dignity and that reserve doesn't stop the Japanese from solving the problem and going in and trying to deal with the tragedy.
Well, there again, there's gaman. They are members of a community, so they know that they're taking a high risk, but they bear it, they endure it, fortitude, and for the sake of the others, they go in to keep the situation in the nuclear plants from getting worse.
I think we all have a lot to learn from our medical staff and from the lessons that the 2011 earthquake disaster taught us, and we can still use today, and I'm sure we'll still be able to use long into the future. I continued to look for anything online that might have had to do with this word, and actually found this girl whose name is Vanessa from JapaneseLondon.com. I hadn't ever heard of her or the site before, but she actually reads this quote from a book by Mari Fujimoto, and the book is called Ikigai, which means the will to live or the reason to live. And it's a great quote on what gaman means. And so I want you all to listen. And so I hope it's okay, Vanessa, that I use this, but I'm going to share this on my site too.
Hello, this is Vanessa from JapaneseLondon.com, and I'm coming to you with Ikigai and other Japanese words to live by Mari Fujimoto. And this is an absolutely fantastic book with so many helpful phrases in. If you're anything like me, you will have spent this week getting used to our new reality, all the things that we can't do, and just having everything kind of slowly dawn on you. I've decided to wear my new howdy, my new kimono jacket to the park because I've got nowhere else to go. And I just wanted to read to you this absolutely fantastic piece of writing explaining about the phrase gaman. Gaman is an attitude of forbearance and patience. When we are confronted with unbearable situations, natural disasters and tragedies, gaman means accepting these traumas with dignity and without accusation or blame. Gaman is of a piece with gambari. Both words mean enduring hardship and just doing your best when faced with challenges until the adversity is finished. Uniting people in distress, these concepts give us the phrase gambate, which means to express empathy, encouragement, and moral support. It's said to people during their struggles to remind them that they are not alone and that their hard work has not gone unrecognized. So I'd just like to say to everybody is affected. It doesn't matter who you are. Thank you so much to NHS staff. Thank you to people looking after our kids and our elderly and the ill. I would like to say ganbatte. Jane.
Thanks, Vanessa. And how appropriate is that? Facing a tragedy with dignity and without accusation or blame. I know that in my life, recently, I have been blamed and have blamed others for things that I have no control over. And I think maybe all of us have. We've been frustrated, we've been overwhelmed, and that's a natural reaction. And so I hope that today we've all learned a little bit about the word gaman and what that means, and hopefully we can take that home and use that in our own lives, especially now. And now for all you Japanese learners out there, I actually have 4 different phrases I want to introduce to you that use the word gaman. And so 2 of them are a little bit more serious and 2 of them are kind of silly, or at least they're a little bit more lighthearted. So the first of the 4 phrases that I want to introduce to you today is 今は我慢の時だ. 今は我慢の時だ. So 今 means now, and gaman means gaman, and toki means time, and da means to be or is. And so it basically means now is the time for gaman. And I thought that's a great phrase. It's kind of like a pep, a call to action. Like, everybody, now is the time to gaman. And so it's kind of a collective cheer, and I think that's pretty appropriate for our time right now. 今は我慢の時だ. The second of the 2 phrases is, I'm not so much silly as it is kind of like, it's just lighthearted. So it is 外で食べるのが我慢した. 外で食べるのが我慢した. 外で means out. 食べるのが means to eat. And then gaman means gaman, endure, resist, with dignity. And then shita is the past form of to do. So I refrain from eating out. 外で食べるのが我慢した. So maybe you were kind of short on cash or something like that, but you really want to go to that restaurant, but you held back and you didn't go. That's a time when you would say, yeah, you exercise gaman. And so this is maybe something that many of us have been through. So in that case, you have actually, you've practiced gaman, as long as you did it in a dignified manner. The third one is kind of like the first one in that it's sort of like a call to action, but this one's more directed at a single person, I think, rather than the first one, which is kind of directed at a group. And this one is もう少し我慢してください。もう少し我慢してください。もう少し means a little bit, and a little bit more. And gaman is gaman, to resist, endure, persevere with dignity. And kudasai means please. So please endure a little bit more. And so this isn't a case, I think, when you see someone struggling and you see that they're going through a hard time. It's a reminder to them, a direct reminder to kind of reach back to that concept and understand that maybe this time it'll pass, and now is the time to really rally together, find that strength within yourself, and endure. Now, the last phrase that I want to introduce to you today is something that I'm guessing you'll never use, but it was a real case that I had experienced in my life. It was a text from my wife. She sent me a picture of our little baby boy, and his face was like contorted and like bloated. You could tell he was struggling with something. And I was like, what is this? Like, what's going on? And she said, unchi no gaman顔. And I never heard of it before, but basically, gaman is in there, right? So gaman kao. So gaman means to resist and endure and refrain, and kao is face. So it's this face of like enduring, and unchi means shit. So the poor guy was trying to take a and she took a picture of him like going, ugh. I don't think he'll ever use that, but that was an interesting use of the word gaman. So I hope that this offered a little bit of help in these uncertain and sometimes frustrating times. I think that if we all exercised a little bit more gaman in our life, and it kind of sounds like, come on, like it's sort of easy to remember that way, that I think we'll all get through this better than we were before. I know it's hard, but you are not alone. 一緒に我慢しよう. Let's get through this, endure together.